It is your prisonplanet.tv memberships that fund so much of what we do here on this operation. And then we're more than happy for the TV show after it's aired live, then be leaked out onto the web to tens of millions of people. That's our goal. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on this 12th day of December 2012. It is Wednesday, and we are going to be joined by a researcher and a Syrian known as Syrian Girl. And she's been talking to us over the last year about our government here in the United States and European governments via NATO launching Al-Qaeda operations in Libya and now Syria. Now, thanks to McClatchy newspapers and then the Drudge Report, in the last week, this has been forced out into the news. Very exciting information. Because if we don't get this information out, they're going to be able to overthrow country after country and put jihadists into them and then use the jihadists as a threat against the West. And the government can use that pretext to take our basic liberties and our basic freedoms. So that is coming up in about 30 minutes here on the broadcast today. Again, there is so much important news that it makes my head spin. We're also going to be premiering a news report that we have compiled here where we were able to hack a drone. Now, this is obviously very, very important because everything in this society is going to automation. Automated Google cars on the highways, automated jumbo jets flying people around the world. That's already begun in England and Australia. And it just shows how this stuff can be taken over. And then the government's answer is to bring more government control and basically let them have overrides on all electronics and machinery so that the, quote, terrorist can't get control. But we know who really runs the government, and that is the terrorist. Also, something that only made local news, we've checked, and so we're breaking it nationally and internationally right now. Media ignores bombing of Social Security building. Alleged terrorist helped U.S. in uprising against Saddam Hussein. This has Black Ops written all over it. The Oklahoma City building attack clearly had some Iraqis involved at certain levels of it. And that even came out in local news, who Clinton had brought into the country. That even made the L.A. Times and the Washington Times back in 1995, 1996. And Paul Watson links to some of those articles and reports in some of the previous reports he's done on Oklahoma City. And the film that I'm in that's excellent that we sell, A Noble Lie, at InfoWarsStore.com. Now, that said, just to finish up with the Syria situation ahead of that guest joining us, because I didn't really finish my point, which I tend to do. I jump from issue to issue. But, we started hammering this on the Libya front and then on the Syria front that the West was using Al-Qaeda. We really do get the credit for getting the journalist on, like Dr. Webster Griffin Tarpley, who actually traveled to Libya under bombardment, and people like former NSA officer on the show, Wayne Madsen, who also traveled over there to Syria as well. So did Tarpley, under fire in the case of Tarpley in Syria. This goes back 20 months ago we first started reporting it. So we can say we've been proven right yet again. And now it is all over the news. The New York Times on Sunday, ABC News today. But if you've got to give final credit to forcing this out there, it is Matt Drudge and DrudgeReport.com. And it is a bold move. And I would also say, dangerous at certain levels because the system did not want this out. We knew in Switzerland a year and a half ago where we had our reporters covering Bilderberg from our sources inside via multiple moles, I'll just leave it at that, it was brought up in the official meeting that they were very upset that the BBC and even LA Times had picked up the fact that Al-Qaeda was the main force being used in Libya. And that they talked about the alternative press and said, they're the ones pushing this out there. We want this shut down. And it was also a topic with heads of state at the Bilderberg group meeting in June of this year in Chantilly, Virginia. So this is a big deal, because let me explain something. If the fact that Western governments ran Al-Qaeda, created Al-Qaeda in '79, used them against the Russians, used them against the Serbs in the '90s, used them to at least take the blame and the cover for 9/11 as a pretext to attack all these countries that had nothing to do with it, like Iraq, and take our liberties. If the myth of Al-Qaeda dies, their whole New World Order police state takeover dies. That's why they're trying to segue 11 years later and saying, we're done with Al-Qaeda, they're not the threat, it's the gun owners, it's the conservatives, it's the libertarians, it's the returning veterans. You know, that was classified 5 years ago, leaked 4 years ago to us. Highly restricted, not classified at the time we got it. Of course, we'd already reverse engineered it and told you from the training that that was already going on a decade ago. But they use Al-Qaeda as the simulant to get you to give up your rights as the cover story of the enemy. Then they remove that curtain, and there is the real object of the globalist takeover, us, the American people, the people of Europe, the people of the once wealthy Western societies of the Renaissance and of the Enlightenment and of the Magna Carta and of the flower of the human revolution at the time, the 1776 Declaration of Independence and America. So here's the headlines. Obama moves to undercut Assad but warns of extremist ties to Al-Qaeda. And they're now actually saying we've got to take over Syria. We told you this would happen because Al-Qaeda is there. Yes, we've got to attack because Al-Qaeda might use gas. And then they know the general public, Assad, Al-Qaeda sounds the same. Can't find Syria on a map. Most people I talk to think the Middle East is in Central Asia. They think Afghanistan's the Middle East. I mean, it's just, Assad is now Al-Qaeda. Our criminal government has been launching a 21-month attack, blowing up police stations, but just mass killing. And this is now going on. So it's finally all over the news, and we're going to be breaking that down. I recorded the police this morning, the state police, when I was pulled over with my son, who I take to work about 2 days a week with me now. He's homeschooled, and he's learning TV editing and everything because he wants to do it. It's his idea. Over the objections of his mother, so we've kind of compromised. That's why we're not releasing his name or anything yet. But he's very talented, very smart. Every parent says that, but my son is particularly immersed in, I mean, he reads college-level text on history now because that's what he likes. He also likes comic books, but he is a chip off the old block and then some. But he's with me this morning, and every day on this certain such a highway, there are state police and Austin police, and it's 65. It goes from 50 to 65, and I have to constantly, and you can't use cruise control because there's people coming on the highway, slowing down, speeding up. And I think at my core, I was mad and a little bit argumentative, or preachy is the word, to the state police trooper because of the fact that you can work as hard as you can. They will still give you a ticket every few years going down a hill or getting on a highway where you got to speed up to get on it. I mean, they know where to get where people are coming down a big hill. They now give you tickets 5 miles over the speed limit or going up a hill. And you're white glove inspected. That's a West Point term of you coming with a white glove to find any dirt under any surfaces. And then you get demerits and get in trouble. We are white glove inspected. So this guy pulls me over up on the big overpass. So I've got to get off. And I pull over, and he comes over, and he obviously knows who I am. He's looking at me. And he starts asking, is this really your address, and stuff like that. And I'm like, look, I'm not answering your 20 questions. I'm not the one here that's under suspicion. You work for an illegitimate government that ships in the narcotics. I go, I know you're ordered to let the illegal aliens go for drunk driving and no insurance and speeding. And he goes, and this is after I'd chewed him out. He goes, no, I know it's true. I don't like it. You don't like it? You know it's true. I mean, every cop I talk to admits this all over the country. And And that's what's so ridiculous about this. It's not that I don't want a ticket. It's that the government ships the drugs in. They're putting microphones and cameras up in streetlights all over the country. The NSA spies on us without warrants. And I said, the Texas Youth Commission, has giant child rape rings that make Sandusky look like a choir boy. And his eyes get bigger and bigger. And he's going, But I go, but I want my ticket and give it to me. Okay? And so I went through all this because I said, just in case you get pleasure off your little hunting instinct, hunting people. And I know you've got, oh, by the way, the police are always saying they don't have quotas. That's a complete lie. It's come out in court cases. You don't get promoted and you don't get raises and you don't get bonuses if you don't write tickets, okay? It's revenue generation. And by the way, no amount of money will ever prop the country up. It's designed to collapse. And I told him that. And I said, enjoy your sodium fluoride. I said, be sure and give your kids vaccines so they'll die because I know you love the system. And the cop's like, he was looking at me like, well, I haven't done anything. That's the point. We're all under attack. You don't arrest illegal aliens. If you do, they're released, and you get demoted. And the cop, I couldn't believe it. The state trooper's like, yeah, I know, I don't like it. I mean, my point is, it's not that I don't want out of a ticket. It's that I am the mark, and my taxes go up and up, and I drive to work hundreds of times a year and never speed, so I don't get the ticket, and they still got me one day because my son's sitting there talking to me, and my wife's calling on the phone, and I'm sitting there driving and went, 8 miles over the speed limit, and it's sick. It's sick. I'm going to finish up with this story when we get back. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Yeah, that's what's frustrating is that I'm driving to work and I'm thinking about the New World Order and how all over the country they're putting cameras and microphones in streetlights listening to us. They're admitting that they're listening to us over our phones without warrants, over our television sets. It's beyond 1984. I've got more news reports, because I'm reading this news before I drive into work, about forced inoculations all over the country. It's felonies every time the government does it. I was thinking about just how the march of evil is everywhere and how they're about to bring the estate tax up to 80%. That'll get rid of most family farms. They're raising property tax everywhere. They will destroy this country. I mean, that's not rhetoric. And I was actually thinking about how they're using illegal aliens to bankrupt the country because they get free kidneys, free health care, free housing, all the perks that citizens don't even get, to have an incentive to bring in massive third world populations, and how just illegitimate the whole thing is. And I get pulled over. And the guy comes up and he starts his little investigation thing. And I just said, that's not it. I'm not talking to you. You're illegitimate. Give me your ticket for revenue generation. And I said, you'll never see your pension fund, and you're going to be poor, and your whole family is going to live in squalor. Just remember that, okay? Because this is the train we're on, okay? Totally illegitimate. The government sticking their hands down our pants to fly when the government runs Al-Qaeda publicly. The government staged 9/11, okay? The criminals that run our country staged it. Okay? They blew up Building 7 in front of everybody and had the police say, get back, they're blowing it up. And then said, we never said that. Okay, they announced it fell an hour before it fell on TV. Just like they announced Lee Harvey Oswald killed JFK before he was even arrested. All in the foreign news because they got their time zones off before his name was even, it's all staged. And I'm sick of it. And I'm tired of it. And I'm tired. We've got to divorce ourselves from this system. And we've got to say, you're illegitimate and you're criminal. That's the only hope we've got. And I'm up here risking my life to do this. And, I got to be honest. About once a year, I get pulled over by the state police. And they're usually, well, you were so nice, I'm going to give you a warning. My son, and I have it recorded after the cop leaves, he goes, man, you were never like that. He's been in the car with me 4 or 5 times we've been pulled over. And I said, I'm just sick of it. And he goes, well, Daddy, are you mad because of the ticket? And I said, no. What, $100 or something? No, that's not what I'm mad about. I said, I'm mad. And he goes, I understand you're mad because it's hypocritical. And I go, that's right. It's a double standard. I am the lowest form of garbage to the government. I am seen as a big, fat milk cow for these vampires to suck off of. And their answer is, well, we're keeping law and order. No, you're not. You're out there revenue generating. Our state is illegally handing the roads over, and it's illegal, federal and state law. There's state laws against it. They're still doing it. Red light cameras are against the law, been thrown out of court. They're still going in. The foreign companies running our toll roads and taking over existing roads, illegal. They're doing it. I've been there at the State House hearings. All of it's illegal. I've had enough. Listen, I pulled up at my office because an alarm was going off and I was eating dinner nearby. No, that was another time the cops came over here. My IT guy was over here because the server was down. That's what it was. And I pulled up, and the police had him out and said, well, we saw him turn into this office park, so we thought it was suspicious. And his driver's license expired. We're taking him to jail. And I said, you can do that? And they go, oh, we arrest people for no seatbelts now. You know, it's all this maximum enforcement. And I said, if he was an illegal alien, you'd let him go, wouldn't you? He goes, yep, the judges just let him go, so we're told to. And I had like 4 cops. They were all, by the way, all listeners. Oh, I heard your show last week. That was real good. I'm retiring next week. If you heard of my rock band, such and such, and I'm sitting there, and I'm, but you're taking him to jail. Well, that's just what we do. So they even selectively, which is illegal under common law, enforce, admit it to you. I got the cop today, the state trooper, on tape. And you know, I was so in his face. I'm like, I want that ticket. Give it to me. I knew he wasn't going to let me not have the ticket. I go, I want it. I want it. Do the wrong thing. Abuse the citizen. Let the illegal aliens go. And he did it. And, of course, he got all that once he was asking, is this your proper address? What are you doing? Where are you going? None of that. You're the one under suspicion, George Washington said. You're the government. I don't trust you. I don't trust you. And I'm sure, and they hire these Dudley Do-Right state police guys. You can tell the guy was probably out of Iraq 2 years ago. You could sit in there, you could tell exactly who I was, but he still did his duty to pin the American scum to the wall, to nail me down while the Texas Youth Commission murders and rapes children. All right, briefly here, finishing up, I will air the audio. We've got so many special reports, like 6 or 7 of them in the queue that are being finished right now that it probably won't even air this week, but it's about 9 minutes of audio with myself schooling the state trooper. Who's like, well, why, basically didn't say a word, but the body language is, why are you being mean to me? And I was not being mean to him. I am sick of it, and I am fed up with it, and I'm tired of it. The government is illegitimate and spies on me without warrants. The state of Texas is a criminal operation at the top. Compared to some states, it's nothing. And there's just all sorts of government lawlessness going on. And the police and the feds will come up and say, you can't videotape them on the street and threaten you with arrest. It's all color of law garbage. And they're jacking up our taxes. People think, we got low taxes. Well, I guess compared to some other states, but they're going up on every front. And I'm treated like garbage. And every police officer I've talked to, I've seen articles in the news where the feds all over the country, this has been going on for a decade, will not, when they arrest a van with 15 illegal aliens with liquor, marijuana, you name it, they don't even arrest them now because the feds won't come pick them up. And the judges collectively, as a group of criminals, give them $5 fines. In fact, I had one of the main prosecutors in Travis County come to my office. I'm not going to say names, but it's one of the prosecutors. And they wanted me to do this whole investigative behind-the-scenes report. I'm too busy. I already know this. And they said the Travis County judges and the Austin judges give them, what I already heard, $5 fines for DWI. If the cops arrest them, see, and then meanwhile, this guy is going to give me a ticket for 8 miles over the speed limit. And I sat there at first and just said, here's your stuff, until he started going, is this your drive, or is this where you really live? And I went, oh, we're starting the criminal investigation garbage here, where you're going to try to milk something out of me. I go, you know who I am. The guy looks at me with body language, yeah. Okay, let's start right now. You opened up that can of worms, buddy boy. And the thing is, I'm not just sitting there telling that state trooper something there to make myself feel big. I'm sick at my stomach. I've got to debate my wife every week about escaping this country. I've had to sign my kids on to go down with this country. It makes me sick. It's all going to go down. I start telling about the re-education camps. He had eyes like saucers. Hey, state trooper, they're setting them up. The Emergency Centers Establishment Act. The Civilian Inmate Labor Camp Program. Write it down. Investigate it. Instead of writing tickets all day so you can get promoted and get a bigger bass boat. Why don't you go find out about all the rest of it? Why don't you find out about the Army manuals for re-education camps? Why don't you find out about the police at the higher levels being trained that they're going to arrest patriots in this country when this country goes completely communist with a fascist group on top of it? You see, this is life and death. And I resent the whole stinking system because it's a fraud and it's illegitimate. It's simple. If they didn't arrest, let's say, illegal aliens for murder, which they pretty much don't now, they just let them do whatever they want most of the time. That's how that railway killer could kill dozens and get away with it and not ever get in trouble. Be released over and over again. So let's use that as an analogy. And then I commit a murder, and they go, well, we know Pedro here committed a murder, but we're going to let him go, but you're going to go to jail. It's the same thing. And it's not that I don't want a ticket for going 8 miles over the speed limit. You know, I had my insurance right there in the glove compartment. I gave him an old one on purpose because I knew he had on his computer whether I had insurance or not. And I knew when I got in his face, he'd wrongfully, with his computer system, still give me the ticket. So he did the wrong thing. I got him to do the wrong thing. Now you got to deal with God, cop. You understand that? I'm the one that ran that situation. I'm the one that played you like a fiddle, you little robot, because you were picked because you're a robot by the system. And I don't like robots. Anyways, excuse me. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry. See, people need to understand this is real, this broadcast, okay? This isn't an act up here. I'm sick of it. I need to settle down, though. For 15 years, all the new manufactured televisions have microphones inside of them. The cable boxes, everything. They're listening to you. They're tracking you. And now they admit they are. The government, I'm going to say this again, puts cancer viruses in the vaccines. And the cops are out there writing little old ladies' tickets. That's why I'm angry. Because I know those police, by successive approximation and incrementalism, will do anything. When the time comes, they'll pull up with an armored vehicle and say, come out with your hands up or we're going to burn your house down. That's the training for the future. And if I don't, they'll burn me and my family down like Waco, and they'll say I burned myself and my family up. And then and that's how they'll deal with it. And if I come, they'll take me to a re-education camp. That's what all this is segueing into. That's what the new Brad Pitt film is about. We've now read the book. We've got a review coming out. It'll be next week. Where America, communism, they say Marxism is the way. The American people are the #1 enemy and must be hunted down and killed, not the zombies. They say in the book, thank God for the zombies. They help bring down the American people. And they hunt down gun owners that have survived, and you are the #1 enemy to be murdered by the United Nations. I mean, it's every book, every movie. This is all they push. It is so sick how they're priming everybody for this. And the U.S. Army trains now to mow down, quote, zombies. See, if they train to mow down American citizens, which I've actually got on tape before, it becomes a controversy. But now, oh, these are people wearing football jerseys and John Deere caps, dressed like Americans, but they're zombies. It's a way to dehumanize and then simulate the killing and prepare that role. It's all programming, see, and I know it. You see, I know it, and I'm mad at the biological androids, zombies if you would, because it's a metaphor, a revelation of the method where the establishment is explaining to you, you're a zombie. You're a zombie. You know, that cop was not a zombie, actually, and you know, I'm torn because I could tell he wasn't a bad person. And I could tell that when I was sitting there chewing him out, you know, he didn't particularly like it and had this victim complex where he's just doing his job and, you know, he doesn't like everything that's happening and here I am being mean to him. It's not about you, buddy. It's about your kids and the future of this country. Because if you will give me a ticket for going 8 miles over the speed limit, then you better arrest illegal aliens when they're drunk driving, and you better arrest them when they've got illegal firearms. And again, it's not that I even dislike the illegal aliens, but why are they above the law? Because the globalists, and I'm going to hold Syrian Girl a little bit in the next hour. I know her time, it's like 1 in the morning. It just makes me physically sick. I was having an okay morning until this happened, and now I am physically sick because, you know, my son was there. And it just makes me think about what a dirtbag country we were turning into when I love this country so much that this isn't freedom. When the government can selectively enforce all over the nation, they're giving children forced inoculations at schools, elementary students. And when parents find out when the kid has a convulsion or whatever, that's usually in the news when it happens, little Bobby ate, had a convulsion, doctors believe, from the shot. When the mother got to the hospital and demanded to know why, she learned they'd given the shot. They said that despite the fact that she hadn't signed the forms, it was a mistake. And then now it's like, you know what, it's not a mistake. We're just going to do it. California law says we can. Other states where it's not even a law, they just do it. These are vicious, pig-like government scum, these school administrators, who are in there to get federal money, injecting the kids because they're told by higher-ups you'll be backed up. It's a lawless group. The government's 1 inch, folks, from just taking your bank accounts and your 401ks. In fact, under Obamacare, they're starting to take 3.8% on top of all the other taxes. That's taxes on after-taxes money. We told you, it's all going to happen. Look, if you don't have due process and if you don't have fair weights and balances the Bible talks about, society collapses. And this is what we're turning into. And it disgusts me. It disgusts me that in the future they'll just have a pickup list and they'll scan your license plate and they'll tell the cops, all right, arrest these people coming down this road, and the cops will pull you over, put you in handcuffs, put you in their vehicle, take you to a central facility. The feds will get you, put you in the back of a black van you're never seen again. That's already going on, by the way. And so it's also the realization of, if I stay in this country, I'm getting down to the zone now where this is not a game. And here's this cop who's so childlike, just like the general public is. It just makes me physically ill. I am physically nauseous right now from this. Because I can see where America's going. I know what's going to happen. I know I'm right. I want to turn it around. I want things to get better. And I know this is an evil, abortion-loving country, and we're going to hell in a handbasket. And the cops are going to do whatever they're told. Yeah, I don't like the fact illegal aliens, I'm not allowed to arrest them or anything. Oh, but you're going to give me that ticket, aren't you? Yep, sure am. Here it is. That's what they told me. That's policy. And it's policy that the Texas Youth Commission still gets to rape little kids. And it came out in the news, gladiatorial events, raping kids, selling little kids to other people, CPS raping kids. Man, I got a call yesterday from a great source who's got this whole investigation on a bunch of stuff. I got to call him after the show today. And it's, it's jailers killing people in jails. And the guy's like, I got the tape of it. And I'm like, oh, great. It's not like, ooh, I get to prove they're evil. It's like, yeah, I already know. You know what I mean? It's just, oh, but don't worry, I got that ticket, though. Yeah, justice was served, boy. I got my ticket. All right, I apologize to Syrian Girl. Let me just guys, I forgot to get water during the break, and my throat's a little bit shot from last week's screaming. Will somebody get me water? Thank you. I usually get my own water because I don't like people getting my water. I like to do little things like that myself. It's not like I have butlers around here, but I almost want to put a tank of water or the ProPure right in here with me, right in here in the studio. And speaking of that, we can't guarantee you'll get it by Christmas. Yesterday was the cutoff, but most of you probably will. There's still some left in supply. They're sold out everywhere else and sold out at the factory. But we've got them ProPure. We have the lowest price, 15% off. If you want to trust the government and drink the water they give you in the tap, go ahead. You might as well jump off a cliff. But this is what I use, my family uses. Say 15% off the promo code WATER15 on orders placed after December 10, 2012. May take 4 to 6 weeks for delivery. And they just put a giant out there. It'd probably take a week and a half, 2 weeks, but we're just putting that to be absolutely, I think we're going to change that. They told me a week and a half, 2 weeks. I don't want to overdo it and be disingenuous in an attempt to be truthful. We need to put 2 weeks up there. Anyways, the point is, if you want ProPure, they're available 15% off at InfoWarsShop.com. It's also a great gift. And your purchase supports the broadcast. You can also give right up to Christmas. You can also give the 10 memberships at prisonplanet.tv to see the nightly news and everything for $5.95 a month. That's 59 cents per membership. Create one username and passcode, and you can just give it to people. So again, get your ProPure water filtration and other water filtration systems like the Life Straw. We have that in stock at InfoWarsStore.com or 888-253-3139. Or get all your shopping done and give people InfoWarsNews.com or PrisonPlanet.tv membership. Say, hey, here's your documentary film website membership and a card. Even if your family's lazy and doesn't use it, a lot of them will use it, and you may wake somebody up. It's 59 cents. So 10 memberships, $5.95 a month. Check it out, prisonplanet.tv. And the new site is up. The new redesigned site's even better. It even works better. Almost all the bugs are worked out, prisonplanet.tv. Okay, now going over here to these news articles. Here's McClatchy. Al-Qaeda-linked group Syrian rebels once denied, now key to anti-Assad victories. And then that force, this was a week ago, that force, because Drudge linked to this and to our articles and others and tweeted about it. Let's just give credit where it's due. Al-Qaeda-linked group Syrian rebels once denied, now key to anti-Assad victories. We told you this a year and a half ago. Here it is, New York Times. Syrian rebels tied to Al-Qaeda play key role in war. And it continues here. Al-Qaeda in Syria, on and on and on. So, and then here's Obama today. Obama moves to undercut Assad, but warns of extremist ties to Al-Qaeda. In a diplomatic shift, President Obama said today his administration now formally recognizes the newly formed Al-Qaeda, leading coalition of Syrian rebels who are fighting to topple Syria's embattled President Bashar Assad. And Hillary's been saying they need to invade because Al-Qaeda might take over. You got to love it. You put Al-Qaeda in, then you got to invade because Assad's Al-Qaeda. We made the decision that the Syrian opposition coalition is now inclusive enough, is reflective and representative enough, kind of like Al-Qaeda they put in charge of Libya, of the Syrian population that we consider them the legitimate representatives of the Syrian people in opposition to the Assad regime. And they go on. And then here's our article that was linked on drudgereport.com, was linked there now. Bold move to get this out to everybody. Syrian rebels pledge allegiance to Al-Qaeda group that killed U.S. troops. And it's an admitted group that fought U.S. troops in Iraq. But that's okay. They had to be put in as a simulant. Even though they were real people killing real troops, that's part of the war. Part of the death is you've got to bring in Al-Qaeda to kill troops so we have an excuse to be there. You pay off the Iraqi military to stand down, then you fight Al-Qaeda, but then actually double team, use Al-Qaeda to attack the Shiites. This is the master plan. It's called full spectrum dominance, playing both sides or all sides. So the point is, this is broken. We're going to break in a few minutes. Syrian Girl, we're going to give out your YouTube site and everything else so people can check out the great reportage you're doing. Everything you reported on a year ago has now been proven correct. And you join us now to break down what's happening. But in the 3 minutes we have before we go to break, what do you make of them recognizing that Al-Qaeda is a legitimate government, but then also saying, oh, but we need to go to Syria so Al-Qaeda doesn't get in charge? What do you make of these new developments 22 months in?
You know, I just have to reiterate what you said, because it's so important and so crazy to think, you know, Obama first recognizes this group, Jabhat al-Nusra, and says, oh yeah, this group is Al-Qaeda. And then he goes and turns around and recognizes the Syrian rebels as the sole representatives of the Syrian people. And as a Syrian, it's quite disgusting for him to say that Al-Qaeda represents me. And, you know, and then 29 groups of these Syrian rebels, 29 groups, turn around and say they pledge allegiance to the same group that Obama said was Al-Qaeda, which is Jabhat al-Nusra. So it's basically saying that Obama is directly backing Al-Qaeda, and there's no other way to go around it. And I think, you know, we've said this many times as I've come on your show, and I just wanted to add a little bit about what people can do. I know that there's a petition going on right now that is trying to stop the U.S. government from funding Al-Qaeda in Syria. And this is what they've been repeating all the time. I mean, they did put them in Iraq. Of course, there was a nationalist struggle against the occupation there between both, which was both Sunni and Shia, and they started off as a secular movement. But they had to inject Al-Qaeda in there to divide and conquer, basically, and to take the whole thing. And
let's be clear, they're recognizing the admitted main Al-Qaeda group as the head government, because there are 20-plus groups, as you were saying. The one headline is 99% of fighters are jihadist Al-Qaeda, and they've now pledged allegiance to Al-Qaeda. So we'll be right back with Syrian Girl reporting on all this straight ahead and what it means that the U.S. government, traitor-in-chief, now endorses publicly Al-Qaeda. Okay, going back to Syrian Girl, and she's public now. Her full name's out there. She's been on national Australian TV. She's who she says she is. She was one of the former ruling families before Assad came to power, and they basically left the country over that. So she's not a fan of Assad, but watching Al-Qaeda brought in out of Saudi Arabia, real Al-Qaeda, blowing up churches, killing minority Muslim groups, forcing people to suicide bomb. And I want to explain something here. It is mainstream news. Our article compiles all this with previous reports, and drudgereport.com is linked to it. It's still up there. Syrian rebels pledge allegiance to Al-Qaeda group that killed U.S. troops. Petition demands Obama stop supporting terrorists in Syria. And there's petitions against this. Now, this all came to a head when the New York Times started reporting on it and when Drudge, forced it out there, along with McClatchy. So now he recognizes them in the face of the petition. Well, recognizes them. They're giving them the weapons. And so Syrian Girl slowly, but in the short segment for people, go over, for folks that just tuned in, the name of this group, what they're doing, and how big a deal this is, because you're still a Syrian, national. You still would like to be able to go there. I mean, they're claiming that this group now represents you. They're saying Al-Qaeda from Saudi Arabia, foreign fighters, on record, that's not debated, that they are your government, they are your leaders, and that they're going to, blow up some more mosques. That's a good thing.
Well, absolutely. Their name is Jabhat al-Nusra, but that's just only one group. There's so many groups, and they've all been committing heinous crimes. Just this week, there is a video that came out where they forced a 10-year-old child to behead 2 unarmed prisoners. And at the moment, there's a journalist called Anhar Kochnev. She's Ukrainian. She's captured by them, and they've asked for a $50 million ransom, or they're going to kill her tomorrow, execute her. So they're executing journalists. They are bombing mosques. There's videos of them bombing mosques. And this might seem strange to people to hear that these Islamic extremists are bombing mosques, but then again, they hate many sects of Islam as well. They don't like people who don't follow their exact sect. This is, of course, there are foreign fighters as well, Saudi Arabia, as you mentioned. And I think that part of the whole thing is to make Saudi Arabia and Qatar buy arms from the U.S. and send them to these terrorists. So in a way, it's war profiteering at the cost of the blood of the Syrian people. I do want to, maybe after your break or whenever, go through the reasons why behind Syria is being attacked and why the New World Order sees Syria as a threat or an obstacle to its agenda.
What do you see this as signifying, that they're now publicly recognizing the group and talking about ground troops? Do you still think it's just propaganda to disillusion the Syrian military?
I think the prospect of ground troops definitely is going to be something after the U.S. is sure that there's been enough defections, enough terrorism, the Syrian people are terrorized, that the Syrian military has broken up to the point that their finger is no longer on the trigger to all of Syria's national defenses. I think that it's going to be a prolonged war. So I think, in the long term, yes, they do want to send troops in, but maybe this will be after they succeed in this insurrection and coup, and then they'll say later that, oh,
all right, well, stay there. I want to get into Saudi Arabia. We've now got Al-Qaeda mercenaries threatening to kill a U.S. journalist in Syria. I mean, it's just getting insane. Syrian Girl joins us. She's lived in Syria, but doesn't live there now, and has been giving us really accurate reportage. Her microphone's a little bit reverby, but she's changed mics. She continues to be on the air with us. Again, if you just tuned in, our government, via Obama, has recognized Al-Qaeda as the official government of Syria. Please continue, Syrian Girl, with what you think this signifies.
I think the New World Order is a part of all this. I think that they're trying to destroy secularism inside the Middle East, and probably this will lead to a clash of civilizations in the future. I think this is the end game. And of course, now they're saying two things at the same time, that they're putting Al-Qaeda as the representatives of the Syrian people, and at the same time, later they might enter Syria to get rid of Al-Qaeda. So this could be the situation where troops coming onto the ground in Syria. For the short term, I don't see this happening because I don't think that they will be able to sustain the losses in the media. It will be like the repeat of the Iraq War, and I don't think the people are going to accept that in America right now. So going on to, if you'd like me to talk about why the New World Order is against Syria, why does the New World Order see Syria as an obstacle?
That's what I want to do. I want to go to break because this is a short segment and come back in a final long segment with you and get your breakdown of that, and then also take a few calls. If you have a question for Syrian Girl listeners, we would love to hear from you, a quick, short question so we can get to a few of them, a concise question. The toll-free number to join us is 800-259-9231, 800-259-9231, just on this geopolitical important issue. But start getting into why the New World Order wants to bring them down.
Well, for one thing, they have no Rothschild central bank. Their bank is state-run. They have no IMF debt. And, of course, they are secular, as I stated earlier, and that's going to be a problem in the long term. They, of course, oppose the state of Israel, and that's a part of the whole New World Order plan to create a clash of civilizations in the area. But they oppose it not on a extremist ideology of hatred. They oppose it on a nationalistic position. So all of these reasons and more is why they see Syria as an obstacle to their plans of world domination. And of course, I wanted to get into the religious aspect of it just a little bit because the whole clash of civilizations thing, the infiltration of the different religions, for example, Wahhabism is an extremist form of Islam, in the same way that Zionism is an extremist form of Judaism. And the idea is to destroy the prime religions of the world, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, to bring in their own religion, which is an occult Luciferian religion. This is my view of the way things are.
No, that's it. I mean, PNAC admits the clash of civilizations. I want to go to break and come back and repeat all this because it's so important and expand on it, but please continue.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to say, this is my opinion. I might be wrong, but this is the way I've seen things from how old...
No, you're not wrong. It's the divide and conquer program. It's admitted. See, people say, well, are you going to support the Palestinians or the Israelis? They're not sophisticated. The globalists admit they control both sides. They want the clash. That's why our governments are putting the extremists in, because they don't want peace. And it's the same on the other side. This is how they maintain control, order out of chaos. The general public's not sophisticated enough. All right, we have a final segment here if you're just joining us with a woman known as Syrian Girl. She's actually been on national Australian television. Her family does come from one of the former ruling parties that Assad kicked out. She's not fans of Assad, but everything she's told us in the last year about what was really happening in Syria has come true. If you just tuned in here today, the president, it's an ABC News, has officially recognized a known admitted Al-Qaeda group that McClatchy, New York Times, and others have admitted is Al-Qaeda. Well, yeah, the CFR endorsed Al-Qaeda 3 months ago. McClatchy, about a week ago, started reporting on this. We've been reporting on it every day for 21 months, trying to stop this. They're trying to bring down the country. And here's the headline: Al-Qaeda-linked group, Syrian rebels, once denied, now key part of anti-Assad victories. And Obama has taken that very group and recognized them as the official government. There is now a White House petition online. It's got tens of thousands of signatures. There's 24,040 signatures on the White House petition that we'll show TV viewers a shot of right here, who are watching on prisonplanet.tv. And they are saying, cease all funding and support for Al-Qaeda terrorists and extremist rebels in Syria. Hillary Clinton has admitted that Al-Qaeda is supporting the Syrian rebels, who are backed by the Obama administration with $200 million in aid, and that's not counting the ambassador in Benghazi and the 10,000 missiles to shoot down aircraft. According to McClatchy newspapers, one of these groups, Al-Nusra Front, that's who Obama's recognized, an Al-Qaeda affiliate, is now conducting the heaviest frontline fighting in Syria and has been responsible for terrorist attacks. Impartial observers such as Dr. Jacques Beres says the majority of rebels in Syria are foreign extremists whose goal is to impose Sharia law. Well, yeah, they're blowing up churches. These rebels have also been filmed during burning U.S. flags and chanting anti-American slogans. Funding terrorists is a crime under the National Defense Authorization Act. Such activity has had disastrous consequences in the past, such as 9/11. We demand all support and all direct support or indirect to cease immediately. And 960 people do not want Al-Qaeda to not be funded, 24,000 and counting do. So we're going to link this petition up at Infowars.com. It's actually linked in Paul Watson's article that's at Infowars.com and up at DrudgeReport.com. I'll get into the union thugs beating people up and how that's going to be used to demonize unions, period, and how they're playing both sides off against each other, just like is happening, putting Al-Qaeda in Libya, Iraq, putting them in Syria, putting them in control of Egypt, Al-Qaeda light. This is so they can start the next big wars. And here's the key. We forced this out in the news. This is a big deal. And make no mistake, Infowars.com, our reporters were the genesis of this. And I actually not really particularly, I'm proud of that, but that's a dangerous fact. I mean, wow, we're really having an effect here, praise God. But the fact that it's now been forced out and Obama's had to come out and respond. In fact, that clip's on ABC News in this article. Obama recognizes Syrian opposition group. You guys go find that video clip. But the point is they've officially come out and admitted they're running them, but said there is an Al-Qaeda problem. So we're going to deal with that. So it's just amazing. So when aircraft in Europe and the United States or anywhere else get shot down by Al-Qaeda and they want to set up checkpoints on the highway to search for missiles in trucks, they can even be hidden in cars. Just remember, when you pull over and the state police are there with a checkpoint, all acting official and aiming their machine guns at you like they do now all over the country. If there's a bank robbery, families have guns. Just everybody at the checkpoint, they aim guns at you now. I mean, it's just the government wants to fully dominate us. When they let their Al-Qaeda attack us so they can grandstand and act like saviors, just remember, the banks that run Al-Qaeda did all this. And they are going to use Al-Qaeda to attack us again. And they're going to then use it to stick their hands down your wife's pants. Okay, at the shopping mall, not just at the airport. So this is how they do it. Al-Qaeda works for them. And Syrian Girl, we fixed your microphone, so it's better now. Just recap this point I brought up and the divide and conquer you were talking about last segment. What's really happening and what the larger plan is. And do you get my point that they're in trouble on this? They thought the public was so dumb they couldn't grasp that the government runs Al-Qaeda. They've been caught with their pants down now. This is a great opportunity to shut this down and stop this war. And then also, undoubtedly, the 10,000 plus, there's over 12,000 missiles missing, high-tech heat seekers. Now, undoubtedly, they're going to blow up aircraft with these. Or the globalists may actually try to stop Al-Qaeda from doing it now, knowing that they're going to actually get blamed for it. So it may be a year from now that some family was going to get blown up, taken off from Chicago or Austin or wherever, or from Paris at, de Gaulle Airport. I mean, because I know these scenarios. I mean, we're saving lives right here. So I salute you and all the other reporters. Tony Cardalucci, I think, has been hammering this the hardest. Paul Watson, Kurt Nemo, Steve Watson, Adon Salazar, our reporters, David Ortiz, you've got just all of them have been reporting on this. Melissa Melton, David Knight, Jakari Jackson, Darren McBreen. I mean, I'm not tooting our horn. I'm giving people the good news that we can affect change here, Syrian Girl. We can. The globalists have overplayed their hand here, thinking we're so dumb they could use Al-Qaeda in Libya and now Syria. I mean, this is really blowing up in their face.
I think they took a big risk with this, and they've bitten off more than they can chew. And to go on to the divide and conquer strategy we were talking about, they really, their end game is to create Islamic states all over the place, and of course the Jewish state as well. And you were mentioning about Palestine and Israel and the war there. And I think that Syria has always been an advocate of a one-state solution with the right of return for the Palestinian people. You can call it Israel, you can call it Palestine, but it has to be a secular state, because it's secularism inside the countries with many different religions living together peacefully, which has existed for hundreds and hundreds of years before the Zionist agenda, before the Zionism was even created. So this is what Syria was advocating for, and why it's a thorn in the side of those who want a clash of civilizations. And you know, it's nothing against Jews being in the Middle East, because they've been there for thousands of years, but it's against land grabbing and massacring people based on their religion, and that's what's happening right now. And you know, the president actually, I might not be a government supporter, but I will acknowledge the fact that it's positive that it's a secular government. The president invited the Syrian Jewish community from New York to come back to Syria, and anytime they want, and who, of course, there's a huge push in 2009, before the war began, to bring the Jewish community of Syria who are living in
that's, I mean, Israel, it's been declassified, would, in the 50s and 60s, would bomb Jews in Iraq, but also Jews in Europe and Spain to make them move to Israel. And it turned out Israel was doing that itself. Absolutely. I mean, Al-Qaeda is blowing up synagogues and killing Jews right now. And the people running Israel are as pleased as punch about that, because it's going to force them into Israel.
Absolutely, that's the idea. They want to divide everybody up. And the biggest Jewish community outside of Israel in the Middle East is in Iran right now. And that's going to be the next step. You know, there's thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of Jewish people living in Iran that are threatened by this. And of course, you know, on top of this, this FSA group, the Syrian rebels, Al-Qaeda, you know, they give them 1,000 names. They're just extremist jihadists. They've actually been killing secular Palestinians that are, you know, they oppose the extremist Zionist entity of the current state that Israel is in right now. But they're killing them because they don't really want a secular opposition. They don't want people to unite and say, no, we don't want to fight each other. We want to be Jewish, Christian, Muslim, living with each other peacefully like we have for thousands of years. They want a dirty free-for-all with people killing each other on all sides. And I just wanted to say that one of the crimes that they're committing now, the biggest crime in Syria, is not only have we now lost our Jewish community, we're also now losing our Christian community. And they've destroyed one of the oldest churches in Syria, which is from 50 AD, maybe one of the oldest churches in the world. And I'm a Muslim, but I'm also a Syrian, and it's part of my heritage. And for me, a Syrian of any religion is exactly my brother and sister, as a Muslim would be. And I don't think that the people that they're putting in power feel the same way about that.
I want to go to a phone call for you, but how do you think the establishment, when we come back from break, is going to be able to spin when Al-Qaeda attacks the United States or Europe again? That's one of the big questions. Let's talk to Clint in Iowa. He has a question for you. Go ahead, quick question, Clint.
Yes, sir. Alex, Syrian Girl, thank you for taking my call. Syrian Girl, do you think it's more are they attacking you politically, or is it more a faith-based, like through your religion? Here in America, from Iowa, being a Christian, I feel that they attack you through your culture and your religion first, and then politically afterwards, but I'll take the answer offline.
I don't quite understand the question. So you think that, are you asking me if the war is more religiously driven or more politically driven, or is this the question?
Yeah, I guess it would specifically, do they attack you more through religion, or do they attack you more through laws and rights? Just specifically, do they attack you more with what God you can believe in, or what kind of water you can drink?
I think that, you know, there's definitely different levels and reasons why Syria is being attacked. I think that the powers that be, they do have this ideology that is a occult religion, but also it's about power, and at the end of the day, ideology.
Look, we got to go to break. The globalists are radicalizing Islam and making sure they're always in charge to then menace the West, so the West can then take its liberties away in the name of fighting it. and then so they can also destroy and attack those countries at will. I mean, it's very, very simple. The globalist model is don't let any nation be self-sufficient or strong. It's Agenda 21. All right, taking a few more calls for Syrian Girl, and I've got a ton of the news, geopolitically, domestically, economically, on the tax front, financial cliff, that's all coming up. We're taking a few more calls. We've got a 1490 AM WJOC listener in Ohio on 1490 listening to us. A sheepdog wants to talk to Syrian Girl. Syrian Girl, here is a sheepdog.
Yes, it's a two-parter. One is a statement, which I believe that you guys did the right thing on covering that, AJ. There's no doubt. But a friend of ours, I'm not going to name him on the air, and I'm not going to say who he's affiliated with, believes that it will just accelerate their agenda, that the uncoverment of what they're doing, because they've always got a redundancy backup. Now, my question to you, Syrian Girl, is now that we know that 20 brand new F-16s that have never been used before are being sold by our government to the Egyptian government, which our sources also tell us that they're going to be used against the Syrian government, which is going to give more of an upper hand to the rebels. Have you heard anything about this, and what's your thoughts on that?
Good question. Yeah, well, they're openly talking about the peaceful no-fly zone where they drop peace bombs because it's a peace prize president like Libya. What's your intel on that, Syrian Girl?
I haven't any intel that the planes might be used against Syria, although this could happen. You know, of course, the Egyptian government that has now been installed is a belligerent against Syria. But I think the way I saw it is that those planes might actually be used in case the Egyptians themselves have another revolution to try to take back the revolution that was stolen from them. So, you know, it's clear that this government, it's Egyptian government now, is a complete puppet of the globalists, it seems. So, while I don't have any intelligence for what you're saying, I can't dispute that.
Sure. Let me ask her this question. How are they going to spin it if Al-Qaeda is able to take over and does like Libya and kills Jews, Christians, and minority Muslims, and Libya lines up tens of thousands of blacks and kills them? I mean, I guess the media will stop covering it at that point. I mean, how will they get away with something this big?
Well, if you just look at the way they got away with it on Afghanistan, you know, they just waited a while until the country got destroyed and became a failed state. And they went from supporting Al-Qaeda against the Soviets to we hate Al-Qaeda. And before that, they needed, of course, a false flag operation, as we saw in 9/11.
That's right. So it's just amazing.
That's exactly what they do.
Habu in Wisconsin, he has a question for you. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much for this opportunity, and I have to thank you, Mr. Jones, for giving Syrian Girl a platform amidst all the propaganda we hear otherwise. Here's my question to you, Syrian Girl, and you are doing wonderful work.
Thank you.
Do you think if, say, China, Russia, Iran, perhaps Hezbollah, you know, sent in 5,000 troops each, that to be in Syria, that would, in a way, discourage any open confrontations, because it's always easier to preempt than to react to an invasion.
Well, aren't those troops already there out of Iran? They've sent in a whole they've sent in a bunch of Revolutionary Guard, and there's Russian Spetsnaz. They've killed Russian generals. Al-Qaeda has. Syrian Girl.
They claimed to kill a Russian general, but the Russian general came out and said, "Oh, actually, I'm still alive," and he was in Russia. Syria doesn't have any Iranian or Chinese or Russian on the record. They don't have anything like that, or Hezbollah inside Syria. And at the moment, I think that it would be politically a bad idea to do so. Syrian army is 500,000 strong. So it's not a case of manpower that's problematic. It's just a case of weaponry, sophistication that needs to be upgraded. And that's where Russia and China might be able to...
Yeah, well, Russia has brought in a bunch of ships, and naval Spetsnaz have left the ships. That happened about 6 months ago. But I mean, you're saying the media is just completely lying about that?
I think that there's Russian people military people inside Syria that are
advising,
trained advisors, exactly. But I think that the idea that the Russian army is fighting in Syria or the Iranian army is fighting, I don't see any evidence of that.
Yeah, that probably wouldn't be good PR to have them actively fighting either with the population. Well, again, you're no fan of Assad regime. I'm not either. He's not attacking anybody, and he's not Al-Qaeda. And he's not blowing up churches like Al-Qaeda is and making people suicide bomb. Thank you so much, Syrian Girl. We'll continue to get updates from you. And I know we've got loaded phones from other callers, but I've got to move on to some other subjects. We'll still go to you on the Syria question. But, folks, I'm not hyping this. In fact, I couldn't hype this big enough. We forced this out as an international issue. Man, we got so much going on here that we can barely even get on air anymore coming back from breaks. There's just so much happening, so much unfolding. We've got a report on hacking drones, and we're supposed to play that. Some breaking news here, but I just can't figure out what's going on with that. And we've got a lot of other things we need to report on and break down here, but it just really physically makes me sick that our government is publicly running Al-Qaeda against other countries, and the general public is still in a coma. The good news is people are at least awake to a certain extent to the fact that this is going on now, so I should be in a really positive mood. It's just that this is dangerous stuff. And it's the realization, I guess I've been psychoanalyzing myself, it's the realization that the public is in a coma. It is the realization that we've got real hardcore criminals in charge. And that it's only going to get worse unless people break out of that coma. And I don't know how you get people to break out of a coma, because even if they're awake, they all feel so powerless that they don't care. You know, they say, well, I can't do anything about it, so it's almost like they just sign off to their own doom. We have a short clip of Obama on ABC News talking about recognizing the Syrian government, but there still is an Al-Qaeda threat. He's saying recognizing the new government. So here's that clip.
Do you plan to recognize the opposition and give them some legitimacy?
We've made a decision that the Syrian opposition coalition is now inclusive enough, is reflective and representative enough of the Syrian population that we consider them the legitimate representative of the Syrian people in opposition to the Assad regime. So we will provide them recognition. Obviously, with that recognition comes responsibilities on the part of that coalition.
That's a big step.
It is a big step. There is a small element of those who oppose the Assad regime that are in fact affiliated with Al-Qaeda in Iraq, and we have designated them, Al-Nusra, as a terrorist organization, and we are going to make clear to distinguish between those elements of the opposition.
Do you plan to recognize the opposition?
Okay, so there you go, ladies and gentlemen. I want to get into the economy here with Ted Anderson on this current situation in our economy and the fiscal cliff, and then we're going to get into some other financial news here as well. But I have some news articles right here that say U.S. stocks rise on thoughts of Fed ahead. The thoughts of the Fed, how everything relies on the Federal Reserve in our country. And another report here, gold and silver poised for major move. Dollar slips as traders expect Fed stimulus. It's $80+ billion a month they give to the private bankers of your tax money. Boehner, serious differences will remain with Obama, though Obama's declaring victory and says the Republicans will do what he says. Well, yeah, because they're bought and paid for by the same globalist banksters. And Fed set to expand its monetary stimulus. So that's big news. That means inflation. But not as bad as it would be, because they only give it to the Rothschild, Rockefeller, big six banks, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Goldman Sachs, and a few others. You notice Buffett and Soros have come out, and they want an 80% tax rate on inheritance, down to $1 million. Now, even the smallest farm is going to be worth more than $1 million in the middle of nowhere because of land prices and inflation over the years. Most people now, you know, when they die and they have $1 million house, they have to sell it for the estate tax because of you know, they may have other assets. And you have to understand, George Soros and the globalists, they're in tax-exempt foundations. They're in trust. So all of these inheritance taxes situations, this is set up to transfer the wealth of the middle class to the elites and make sure no generational wealth ever forms, because that gets in the way of social engineering. People that become billionaires on their own are pressured to join the globalist, or they're put in jail for some trumped-up charge. So it's a global mafia who are exempt from the taxes. You see that in the news where General Electric and GM and Google, you know, pay 0 or 3.2% taxes, and they never get in trouble for it. Or they have, you know, hundreds of billions in offshore accounts. That's because they set up the system. So I wanted to get, Ted hadn't been on in a while. He's the founder of the Genesis Network 15 years ago, and the GCN radio network, GCNlive.com. And he also has been in the gold and silver trading operation for over 30 years. He said Midas Resources about 15 years. And look, I went and got Ted because he was somebody I was getting gold and silver from 15 years ago. I went out and I'm not going to pitch gold. That's not why he's here, but I'll do it anyways. He's my sponsor. He was a radio sponsor before he started a radio network. And he sponsored me on another syndicated system I was on. So I've actually known Ted longer than 15 years, longer than Midas Resources, because he had another company name before that. He just liked the name Midas better. But the point is that Ted knows his stuff. And he's where I get my precious metals. And he's got them on hand, too. A lot of places sit there and, you know, you buy something from them, they go out and manipulate the market and try to wait till it goes down to buy. Ted doesn't do that. He buys when it's low, sells at the low price when the market goes up. And that's how he's now the 5th biggest gold and silver broker in the United States. So great example of competitiveness. But that's not why he's here. Ted, what do you make of the QE Unlimited they're announcing will continue? I guess hence QE Infinity, and what this signifies, and then how it ties in to the fact that they're going to raise taxes massively. The Republican plan, you know, if Bill Clinton called for it, he'd be called a communist. I mean, and then the Democratic plan is 2 to 3 times worse, getting rid of all write-offs. No wonder I'm depressed. You know, that's what it is. I never really get depressed. And when I get depressed, I get angry. And I don't even mean like a rage anger. Ted, I have never felt this nasty. Nasty. I mean, I feel nasty at the system. Just beyond hatred. It's just, I'm disgusted. I'm sick of them. They're filthy. They're murderers. They're criminals. And they just keep perching on us, getting away with everything, while the system henpecks us and nitpicks us and runs us to the ringer. And I guess people in Soviet systems stop working. That's what happens. Everybody just stops working, so it's going to get stolen from you anyways. And I guess is that the only answer? I mean, I'm just sick of it. I'm tired of the government. I hate the government. They're criminals. They're murderers. They're scum, Ted. Go ahead.
Well, I can't blame you for being angry, because I get kicked around all the time, too. It's just trying to deal with government is just, it's a ridiculous battle, especially while you're in business. But, yeah, you're right. I mean, why do we put up with this institution? I mean, let me tell you something. The book and silver dollars that we've been offering, these are the silver dollars right now for those of you who are watching. They're older silver dollars that were designed by the Federalists, by the people that put together the Constitution for money. We have the Federal Reserve System now talking about raising, printing more money, $85 billion more per month to extend the stimulus. I mean, and what are they doing? They're buying mortgage-backed securities. Why do they buy mortgage-backed securities? To bail out their friends so the banks don't fall apart. I mean, and what does it do to the average person, the middle class that they're trying to save right now with these middle-class tax savings? It destroys them because of the fact that the currency that they're holding on to is dropping in value. Today, the dollar fell sharply against foreign currencies, and the foreigners are trying to drop the value of their currencies at the same time. I mean, the reason why the market is moving into gold today, and gold took it shot up today. The high today so far is 1724.80, is because of the fact that the Federal Open Market Committee decided that they're going going to continue to buy more bonds and extend stimulus. Alex, we're sitting on the edge of a cliff. Yeah, this is a fiscal cliff, but the fiscal cliff is being created by a monetary system, a banking system that is destroying the value of the
Ted,
currency.
how do you deal with it? How do you deal with it? Because I take all this personal. I mean, I take it personal that they're putting poison in the food and water on record, and I have their documents, so they admit it, they're not getting in trouble. I take it personal that they're maneuvering the country towards bankruptcy on purpose. I take it personal they're playing the unions off against the non-unions when the globalists control both sides. And the jobs already went to China a decade ago, and they ain't coming back. I take it personal to know we're going under Agenda 21, and it's hurting Americans. It's hurting people. It's hurting their future, their savings. I'm getting to the desperation point, Ted, because I've always known this stuff was coming, but now it's really starting to happen. And then, Ted, there's nothing worse than knowing the next 20 steps, how bad it's going to get. I don't know if listeners understand. I don't get up here with rhetoric, even though this stuff sounds crazy. I know I sound like a lunatic on air. You know why? Because the real world is crazy. Truth is stranger than fiction. And I got to take a vacation. I'm going to make this announcement right here. I'm going to take a vacation. I know Christmas is coming up. But I got to get away from this somehow for just a few days or something because, Ted, you know I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I don't even know where I'm going with this. It's just, does it ever get to you like this where it's just like, and then why don't other people get upset? Why don't they care? Don't they understand? We're going into real authoritarianism.
Well, I can tell you the political discussions that I've had with family and friends over this last presidential election, I mean, you know, when you have two flavors of poison to take, and one is Barack Obama and the other one is Mitt Romney, and neither one of them have a solution. We could have Mitt Romney as a president right now, and guess what we'd be talking about? The Federal Open Market Committee extending stimulus so they can keep the ball rolling. We are in this massive debt system that has just absolutely consumed the any prospect of future, and so this is where we are. Alex, I can just say this. I understand you get upset. I mean, I lose sleep over this, and it drives me crazy to watch people try to defend it. I mean, it just absolutely drives me nuts. But that's these books and videos that we put together, the dishonest money and your Obama deception. We'd have to change the name from the Obama deception to the Romney deception if the political thing went the other direction. It doesn't matter. What flavor? I mean, Republican, Democrat, it really doesn't matter because both of them are coming up with the same thing. Hey, let's raise taxes on the economy. If you raise it my way, it won't kill the economy.
And the ultra-rich are the ones that get the government contracts and money, and that criminal, and he is a criminal. He's done illegal things, getting maker bailout money, things with taxes, things with insider deals. I mean, I can defend that. People like Warren Buffett wants my tax money saying I'm rich. People making $125,000 individually or $250,000 collectively with their husband or wife. I mean, that is baloney. And then he wants people that have $1 million in assets. Folks, that's a house and a tiny farm anywhere. I mean, you can't get, it's just amazing. They want everything. They want 80% of what somebody works for at the end of their life of already taxed money. Big bloated maggots, big disgusting pigs like that just slime bag who's always up there with an ice cream cone to look non-threatening, Warren Buffett, all over TV, all over military-industrial complex propaganda, sponsoring the news. He sponsors CNN and ABC to tell you raise taxes and to play mindless class warfare, telling dumbed-down poor people the rich people don't pay taxes, pointing out that he doesn't hardly pay taxes, raised them on us when he knows he's exempted himself. I mean, this is horrible because it's not the paying the money. It's that they're stealing it and it's going offshore to them. It's that it's all a scam. Man, being informed is like torture. It is like torture. And I'm sick of all the dumb idiots out there that think they can just have an opinion that I'm wrong, Ted, or that you're wrong. No, we've done our homework. We know what we're talking about. We're right. Ted, what do you make of the fact that for 20-plus months we've talked about Al-Qaeda being used to attack Syria, and now it's admitted, mainstream news, McClatchy, AP, Reuters, LA Times, but they spin it and say, that's okay, Al-Qaeda's good.
Well, I mean, that's the crazy part about it, Alex. They point at you and they call you crazy. I mean, at least you've been elevated to the point where they look at you and they say, hey, there's this crazy guy, Alex, out there. He's nuts. He's talking about this Al-Qaeda thing. And then 8 months later, they're saying the same thing that you did just 6 months ago. You know, and now they're saying it's okay and it's not crazy anymore. I mean, all I can say, Alex, is that obviously you're doing a great job doing what you're doing, and you're bringing this information to the people ahead of time so they can make some choices and do some things that are actually going to save themselves.
And Ted, again, I'm not here tooting our horn. I want folks to know this is dangerous to do this. This is hardcore what we're talking about, and we're all in danger because they think you're so dumb, folks. The next part of the plan, guaranteed, is the 12 to 15,000 missing missiles, a whole bunch of them heat seekers that can go in the back of a Volkswagen. They're going to drive out to the edge of airports. They're going to shoot down passenger liners, 777s, and the government is going to just grab some mentally retarded patsy and frame them, and then they're going to put checkpoints all over the highways to stop the missiles. I know how they operate. I mean, it's so clear. The globalists are occupying America, and they're using Al-Qaeda as the threat to do it. And they now are giving the Middle East to Al-Qaeda. The government is illegitimate. I had a police officer pull me over for driving 8 miles over the speed limit today. And I read in the Riot Act, I said, look, you're going to, I know you let illegal aliens go. And he said, yep, we're ordered to do that for drunk driving, you name it. And I said, I know, you know, that the government's criminal and all this stuff, but I know you're going to give me a ticket for 8 miles over the speed limit. My point is that the government is falling apart, okay? And I'm telling you, you're illegitimate. Because not that he even individually is bad, it's that now there's no government. The government's gone. It's foreign banker run. Ted, talking about plugs here, you do have the best deal I've seen out there. We'll put it up on screen for prisonplanet.tv viewers. If not, folks can go to Infowars.com. And when you go over to Infowars.com on the Listen Live page there, you can see a banner that says receive 3 gifts. And if you click on that banner right there, it will take you to the subpage where you can get Dishonest Money, the book, and the film, The American Dream, exposing the Rockefellers and Rothschilds, the Federal Reserve, and the Obama deception with 2 silver dollars, shipping included for $72. I can tell you, you can't get silver dollars with shipping for that price, so you're getting the 2 films and the book for free. The best deal in the world for those videos and that book. And that's all available. Or call Midas Resources at 800-686-2237, 800-686-2237 to take advantage of that deal. Ted did this deal because he's mad at the globalist and he wants the truth to get out. So get the silver dollars and the videos and the book free today. Ted Anderson, finishing up here with where all this is going. They're devaluing all the world's currencies, as you know, so they can say the dollar's up one day and it's down the next, but they're all going down. They're all being devalued. Looking at all the different experts' view out there, Max Kaiser thinks everything's going to start accelerating. It's going belly up, his boldest prediction yet, in and around April 15th, that when people have to pay all these new taxes, they're just going to shut down. And I'm telling you, what happened in the Soviet Union and other areas is happening here, just human nature. Every business person I know, except Infowars, because we're just trying to get the word out desperately, is downsizing and is going to downsize massively. But they're going to say employment's going to go up because people that get cut to 20 hours or 30 hours to get around Obamacare, because the businesses can't afford it in most cases, and tens of millions, they're all going to have to get a second or third job, and the government fraudulently counts that against just the total number of workers in the country. But when these new taxes go in, the country's going to go completely belly up, which is the plan, so the bankers can then consolidate even more, go from 25 million on food stamps to 50 million as it is now, or 49 million. A million more just went on in the last week. That was in the news yesterday. Incredible. And then that's going to go to 100 million. People don't understand. The government's not screwing anything up. This is a globalist New World Order takeover. So how bad will it get? Well, a whole bunch of doctors are saying they're retiring because of this. Government loves that. They want it to go bankrupt. They'll just federalize it. So people don't understand. The government knows people are just going to let their employees go and shut down. That's part of the plan again. What do you do in the face of an elite that is so bloodthirsty they want to wreck things?
Well, like, so take a look. I mean, $16.3 trillion. They're going to raise taxes. They're printing money to create inflation, which is taking money away from the people's, savings, any pensions that they might have. I mean, they're really putting us on the hook here. Geithner's asking that the Congress no longer has a debt ceiling so he can just spend as much as he wants. They're talking about taking 401k plans and pensions and this type of thing and forcing people to buy U.S. government securities, which is basically, taking private money and making it government money like they did in Argentina. We're just going towards this economic disaster, and it's socialism, but it's an economic disaster. It's the power being turned over to the government. If you could consider the fact that if the government were elected officials, it's not being turned over to them. It's being turned over to the central banks and the people that pull strings economically. And if I could just get people to see that, they'd vote against this.
I agree. We're almost out of time. I'm going to come back in the third hour and take calls and air a special report on drones being hacked. We were able to do it. It's pretty amazing, and a bunch of news on the unions and the economy and the rest of it. But briefly, Ted, let's put in a pitch here for Midas Resources. When people call, there's a whole daily list of the best deals, of the already great deals that you have, the lost leaders you've got on gold and silver, you name it. And people can call 800-686-2237 to ask for the Alex Jones radio specials that are the deals of the deals of the deals. 800-686-2237 or MidasResources.com to find the 3 free items, the book and the 2 films, including The Obama Deception, The American Dream, Dishonest Money. You can also just link through at Infowars.com on the right-hand side, or you can call 800-686-2237. Real fast in 30 seconds, what are some of the great specials you've got on gold and silver, Ted?
Well, bags of silver at $33.99 is a great buy. The franc coin at $376.12 for a small piece of gold. I mean, let's face it, we're going to have a lot of trouble here in the future. Clean silver rounds at $37.30. The Lakota Nation coin, $42.18. Best deal in the market, $72. 3 videos, 2 silver dollars. You can't beat it, no question about it. Yeah, and when you're dealing with a Nazi Germany type government, folks, you want gold and silver. I don't know, that's what I'm doing. 800-686-237. We're back live, ladies and gentlemen, and you can say whatever you want about me. But I'd like to say don't call me late for dinner. No, don't call me fake. I'm real. Sometimes I wish I was in the Matrix. Actually, I don't. Wow, there is so much news here to get to. So much. It's all just insane. But I think what we'll do is just take some of your phone calls, folks that were holding for the Syrian Girl. Then we've got a special report coming up. Let's talk to Brad in Tennessee. She left us, sir, but I can pretty much answer your questions on Syria, or you can give us your take. Go ahead.
Well, actually, I kept listening, and you talked about unemployment. And I worked in unemployment law for a while, not as an attorney, but to drum up new business. One thing I noticed is the government has grown so large that when they say we've had the best month ever, unemployment is going down, 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 that's not really the case. We're seeing... No, they only announce the government employment numbers. Yeah, how many they're hiring. And most of the hires are always government, yes. That's right. That, and then, of course, also on your benefit charge statements that they send out to all different companies, if you go to any state, to the Department of Labor, they'll show on there they admit to making anywhere from 18 to 20% error rates when they're really making more than that, and it's costing everybody's business a ton of money on top of the money they're already bleeding us. But I just thought about that with unemployment. But the real question I wanted to ask was, I was driving to Memphis with my daughter who wanted to make a contribution to St. Jude. So I took her there for a weekend. As we were driving on 40 to come into Memphis, I've never seen anything like this in my life, and I just wanted you to explain it to me. If you could, I think you can. They have these big vehicles parked in the center lanes, literally every half mile. Looks like they're black SUVs with little white things on top of them.
I know they've now got federal police, and boy, when they pull you over, they really think you're God. And I'm just getting sick of it, man. They're representatives of drug dealing, murdering Al-Qaeda. And that's the end of it. They're the representatives of a foreign criminal syndicate. Individually, they're not bad people usually, but they think you're the enemy if you don't absolutely get out and lick their boots. And I'm just sick of it. I mean, it makes me sick. When a cop starts pulling me over now, I don't get angry. I get sick. I just get sick because I think of the hypocrisy and how pathetic I am and what a joke this country's become. Makes me want to throw up while the government ignores just legions of horrible crimes. The government's busy nitpicking all of us. It makes me want to throw up. If there was some tropical island destination or even, rugged island in the middle of nowhere where I could take care of my family and fish all day and cut fish up all day or work in the fields, pulling a plow, I'd go do it. There's nowhere to run. It's just worldwide, global, corrupt government, decadent television, abortions. And I hate to sound so nasty, but we got to get nasty about this and throw it up. We got to get sick and spiritually just vomit out the New World Order. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And how do we actually try to get started on it? I mean, we have, in our family, hundreds of guns, fully automatic, semi-automatic. How do we, if they start coming to my place, I'll just tell you now, I'm going to have somebody in my family at each corner of my house picking people off. But
well, you see, and that won't even hurt the globalists because they want to have that happen. We need to get the word out and not stop and not let this new civil war start. For people that say the world isn't an exciting place and they're bored, maybe in the Matrix you're bored, honey. The real world isn't boring. But it is amazing to watch the general public in their trance, not aware of what's going on, and then to watch other people that are awake to some of it, but just say, oh, well, that's the way it is. I'm gonna go along with it. You can't. And I'm trying to figure out why I'm so angry today. I was not in a bad mood driving into work this morning, but I was really concerned about the world, and I really wanted to have this impassioned, focused broadcast where we really, woke people up, and I was shocked and I think pretty freaked out that the White House is having to respond to stories that we forced into the mainstream with how our government's running Al-Qaeda. And, at this level, that is not really exciting, folks. When you start being able to affect things at that level, even though it's a good thing, it's not fun. Power is not fun. But I guess people that are, should have power, that are moral and don't crave it, power is not fun. The problem is people that want power, who shouldn't have power, are the ones that are in power. And I think that's really the message I'm here to impart to you today. Folks, you better take the New World Order personal. You better take it serious, and you better do whatever you can to expose these people. Number one, discredit them and let them know they're illegitimate. Every bureaucrat, every government minion say, I don't care if your function has some tenuous connection to common law and the Constitution. The overarching system that you're part of is absolutely evil and absolutely dangerous. And if you don't stand up and rebuke the New World Order and say, we're putting our city, our county, our state in the right direction, you're not legitimate. Now, if government tries to do the right thing and recognizes it's been in the wrong, just like an individual, and tries to turn the ship, then we got to get behind it and help it. But that's not the case. We have not turned the ship around yet. And I think it's that message that has to get through, that this is not our government now. It's run by foreign banks. They've declared it publicly. You know why they did that in hundreds of newspapers last year? Declared we've been conquered and used those terms and said they're going to hurt us real bad? Because it's international law. You have to declare something as yours. You plant the flag. They've stolen our flag. And I think one reason I get so upset and so angry is I have gutted up and don't have fear for myself individually, but there's still kind of a gut reaction of, man, you are in danger, buddy. You are really pushing it. And you know what I do? I just throttle down. I'm going to push even more. And I know where I'm headed. And it's good in my soul, but my flesh does not like it. My soul's like, this is the right way. This is the thing to do. My spirit is in control, but my flesh is still very strong. And my flesh is nasty and angry. It's weird. It's like my spirit is good and loves God and I have a good heart, but my flesh is wicked. And so there's this weird thing when I get in combat mode with the New World Order, is that my spirit is good, but my flesh is nasty and angry and is being drug along with me and does not like what I'm doing. I think that's really what we're talking about here. And so, man, this is some heavy psychoanalyzing here. And the reason I'm talking about myself is my journey is your journey. We're all the same in the final equation. And if you knew what I knew, if you knew that I'm not exaggerating to you, if you knew it's worse than I can even articulate, if you could see what I see, if you have experienced the things I've experienced, I know you've experienced things I haven't experienced, but I've been doing this more than 15 hours a day for 17 years. My whole mind is on this when I'm playing with my children, when I'm walking through the woods, when I'm buying groceries. And because I am aware of it, I know why people want to stay in the matrix. Because when you are really hyper-aware, you then start seeing the propaganda and the programming everywhere, and it's a sick joke. You know, sometimes the TSA comes over and you know, says, oh, Mr. Jones, a troublemaker, when I'm not even talking yet. Where are you going? What are you doing? I start laughing at them, not to make them feel bad. It's funny. These people know who I am. They've just admitted it, and they're doing an 8-hour course on me where they think they can actually read my mind. And I start laughing at them. Because it's funny. They have no idea what they're under. They have no idea how they're being attacked. They have no idea how much of a friend I have to them. They have no idea how stupid they are. They're folly. But other days, it's not funny when I run into one of the bureaucrat enforcers. It's disgusting. And it poisons my soul. It does, looking into their faces and all of it, watching people submit to evil, watching people willfully part of it. You know, you would think I'd be happy when that state trooper pulled me over today and admitted that they let the illegal aliens go, that they're above the law. But when he told me, yeah, I don't like it, and smiled at me, like, you know, well, yeah, we know it's wrong, it made me sicker. Because they all know it, and they all know the American people are the mark and the ones to be sucked dry, and they know, and they still do it. It was 100 times worse. So we're going to have to go through horrible judgment because men in this country will not do the right thing. And it doesn't mean you got to be perfect, but you got to try something. You got to do something. You got to put something in. You got to do something against the New World Order. You got to admit it's real. You got to admit we're in trouble, and you got to start thinking about what are we going to do about it. Get your heart right. People say when you're going into a dangerous situation, you better get your heart right with God right now. You're going into this surgery and you're probably not going to make it. Well, our country's going into something, and it already hadn't made it. The country's dead. And all the Republican garbage isn't going to fix it. All the neocons playing the part of the opposition to the New World Order. Those people don't have any idea what they've signed on to. The globalist plan to bring this country completely down in steps and to cause civil war and total death and round people up. There's going to be a bloody civil war in this country if we don't turn things around very quickly. There's going to be paramilitary forces. There's going to be, they've branded Obama as Lincoln from before he even ran. They are creating the archetypes. They've got more than 10 movies coming out in the next year where the UN occupies America and they're the good guys. They are really planning a Soviet 1917 style takeover of this country, funded by the bankers that funded that very group. We are in a mega level emergency here, ladies and gentlemen. This isn't talk radio you're listening to. This is an emergency transmission by American patriots who are aware of what's happened while they're shutting down so many of our free systems. We've still got a fighting chance. There's still a lot of freedom. There's still a lot of good people. There's still a lot of free market systems in this country. There's still a lot of AM and FM station managers and owners who aren't controlled by the globalist. There's still a lot of newspapers and magazines that aren't controlled, and we've got to support those stations. We've got to support those affiliates. Let's just go ahead and go to this report, and then I'll talk more about it after the break and then go to your phone calls. Here's Drone Mob, and this is the hacking of a drone over Austin. Here it is.
This is Melissa Melton reporting for Infowars Nightly News. Last weekend, Infowars hosted its first ever drone mob, a citizen protest of our taxpayer dollars being used to turn drone technology against us. With the Federal Aviation Administration announcing that 30,000 drones are set to fill our skies over the next decade, regardless of the threat to our civil liberties, many people showed up to speak out against drones and to fly them, but one man showed up to hack them.
Hey everybody, thanks for coming out to the drone mob here. We have a guy who came here, he brought his Wi-Fi system, and it'll actually take control of drones. So we're going to have kind of like a live demonstration.
So we're about to see a demonstration of free open source software that any person can get. He's going to use it to take control and jam the signal.
Okay, I'm now running the block right now. I can see that I'm getting some acknowledgement that it is being effective.
So it's just hovering. So staying in a hover mode, he's basically killed it.
You don't have to be particular with the drone. It doesn't have to be targeted towards anything specifically.
Our particular drone has an automatic landing feature. All you have to do is push land and it'll land. As you can see, David's trying to hit the automatic land and it will not land.
Is it working, David? Can you control it anymore?
It's pretty hard.
Okay, so you do have control over the drone.
I do. I'm spinning around right now.
Okay. Okay, there you go. Here's your spin. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and see if I can disrupt that here and stop you from being able to control it as well.
So you have any control?
Not yet.
He is trying to spin it like he just was. These acknowledgments here are acknowledgments of what I'm sending, which is telling the drone it wishes to disconnect from the controller. You might want to ask him.
Yeah, what's going on, Jakar?
Okay, before you saw I was spinning the drone just around in a circle. Now I'm using my keypad to do the same thing I was doing before, and I've lost, I guess, complete control of the drone.
Now, this isn't the first time a domestic drone has been hacked. Spending just $1,000 in parts, students at the University of Texas were able to build a device that allowed them to hack a drone in front of the Department of Homeland Security.
This is all available on the internet. This is something that, can easily be taught to anybody. We have the power to do that, and this is just a small demonstration of that power.
This is so easy to do. Any person can do this. I mean, even if they're using a different type of system, you saw how easy it was to do it this. I mean, how easy do you think it's going to be for just anybody? I mean, we're filling the skies with 30,000 drones. How easy is it going to be for these other things to get taken over that actually have weapons on them? They have rubber bullets on some of these. They got tasers on some of them.
Yeah, it's going to be extremely easy. Iran's already demonstrated, not only did they take over one spy drone recently, the first one they captured was the latest of our stealth technology.
I mean, I've interviewed several people on this topic, and all the time I get answers like, well, but it's for my safety. It's going to make me safer, and I'm not doing anything wrong, so it's totally fine. What do you say to people who say that?
Well, I think they need to be free-thinking individuals. I mean, there's several consequences for any action. And if anybody wants to get away with something, even if they're doing it for another reason, they're going to lay out all the consequences of what something can do or will do. They'll pick the prettiest one. They're going to sell it based on that. And if we don't look for ourselves at the other consequences of the actions that we're being asked to support or let them take, then we're all going to be enslaved. It's going to be simple for them to do.
For Infowars Nightly News, I'm Melissa Melton.
All right, we skipped this network break. I am absolutely out of control. That's a powerful report. That's newsworthy. That a guy showed up at the thing and said, watch this, I'll hack drones, and started hacking drones in front of everyone. Taking control of iPads, taking control of electrical systems. Just unbelievable. That report is now up at Infowars.com. And here are some of the stories up there on the site right now. Fed's new money printing scheme will ensure long-term unemployment. Drone hacked over Austin. Video, Alex confronts feds after threat to arrest Infowars photographer. Continuing with the reports, media ignores bombing of Social Security building. That's a pretty big story that hadn't gotten any attention. CIA's Al-Qaeda mercenaries threatened to execute journalists in Syria. Militarized police respond to mall shooting. Sorry, protesters, your jobs are being sent to China and they aren't coming back. Yeah, I mean, let's just be honest. They took the bailout money for the auto workers. It's bad enough bailing it out, but if you're going to do it with tax money, at least have it go to the workers. The banker bailouts, last time I checked, were over $40 trillion domestically of taxpayer money one way or another. It's $48 trillion, Bloomberg reported about a year ago. This is the latest numbers we got. That's enough to pay for all the private and public, commercial real estate, mortgages, private real estate mortgages, home mortgage, everything, over and over again. And they tell you, oh, we need all these trillions because of your mortgages. And it's not our mortgages. It's that you sold them over and over again. It's a fraudulent group of criminals publicly. I mean, I don't know how else I'm supposed to explain this. And Mike Adams just called us, and the story is going up at Infowars.com right now. It is a big breaking story. Electroshock, torture, handcuffs, now patented, delivers shocking torture, gas injections, and chemical restraints to prisoners via remote control. And so you don't even have to handle them or control them. You just slap them on them, and then they want this to fly now where you wear a bracelet. Homeland Security's looking at it. See, I say this, and it sounds like a cartoon, something that Darkseid would do, when he takes control of a planet. Ah, Darkseid, excellent plan, the torture bracelets. Gas them when they don't submit. Oh, to fly on the spacecraft, everyone wears their own taser bracelet, their own shock bracelet, to make sure they mind us. And I have the controls, master. Who's the little like evil wizard that walks around with Darkseid? I don't know. I'll let my kids watch Super Friends every once in a while from the 80s, and there's like this little wizard. Oh, my son's here. He knows the name. What's the name of the wizard? It doesn't matter. Look. Well, you don't know the name then. Just go look it up. You know all that stuff. Anyways, the point is that the government is like cartoon character bad guys. Ah, Darkseid, excellent plan, telling them the vaccine is medicine that actually brain damages them to submit to you. Ah, I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous that we've gotten to this point. Let me just take some calls right now, and then we'll get into some of the other big news that we've got here today. And we got Dan Bidondi popping in briefly. Dan has gone back to Rhode Island to do reporting for us from the East Coast. And he's going to give us his take on 4 weeks after the hurricane. There's still some areas without power. Oh, and I forgot to print this when I asked him on. Well, can you guys find the article? I'd pull it up today, but my computer's broken today, so I'm getting a new one that's been breaking so much that I have to just get rid of it at a certain point. The article about where in New York, code inspectors are giving people fines, like if their windows are knocked out or whatever from the hurricane. Like the government won't help you, but they sure will write you a ticket. And these people, when they give you tickets, I've run into bureaucrats and code enforcers before, they smile when they hand it to you, like the power. They enjoy, I'm the boss, you know. It's just unbelievable. So I say challenge every ticket, fight the system, however, just gum everything up. It's all criminal anyways. Just the whole thing's a giant stinking fraud. Let's talk to John in California. Go ahead, sir. Thanks for holding.
Oh, hello, Alex. My question was that I know that there's reports that, well, I guess Russia is messing up.
Here's the deal. We don't really screen calls, but we got to screen them for phone quality because so many of the callers, I can't even understand them. Thanks, John, but I just can't understand you. Peter in Washington, you're on the air.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Boy, you sound like you're in the room next to me, brother.
Thank you. Originally, I had a question for Syrian Girl, but there are a couple of things information I'm going to try to give you. I won't do a lot of comment. First of all, in 1959, I was told by Wilmore Kendall, who was a senior editor of National Review and a professor at Yale on political science.
No, I know who he is. I know who he is.
Okay, he was a member of the OSS and also in the CIA, and he told me that the CIA was moving against the right wingers. Was back in even 59.
Oh yeah, I mean National Review was a CIA operation. That's now been admitted.
Okay, now the second point is And that's important. Well, the first point, part of the first point, and that's important to consider when you look at the CIA in the 60s. Okay, now the second point is Earl Lively, who I knew in Dallas, and he was a correspondent, and he was also a friend of Ayn Rand. And he was in Oswald's apartment the day after the assassination. And he said he looked at the literature there, and that it had it all said that Kennedy was ineffective. And the important, now this has nothing to do whether Oswald was complicit or not. That's what he collected, okay, in his apartment. And this is significant because the U.S. made a big move toward the left immediately after the...
Of course, the mega banks want collectivism at the bottom, fascism above the law, above it. They all want control. They don't want freedom. The CIA was created out of the OSS, that was created out of the British East India Company and narcotics trafficking, and was created in the U.S. out of Skull and Bones, which was set up with opium money. That's Encyclopedia Britannica. And so, yes, this is a predatory foreign takeover arm. And they're doubling the size of the CIA domestically. And they are engaged in all forms of crime. And everyone inside the CIA needs to understand, you are the new Nazis. You are the new Soviets. You have signed on to torture, secret arrest. You are the takeover army through Homeland Security of America. Homeland Security is the foreign banking takeover arm. So but the good news is, one thing holding back the system is this is so textbook evil what the globalists are doing that a lot of people in the FBI, CIA, you name it, are actually good and are not going along with it quietly. Are you aware of that?
Yeah, I am. Now, one point I want to make interpretation, and I'll be quick. Everybody thinks that because Goldwater was defeated so disastrously against Johnson, that he never had a chance against Kennedy. Look at the polls. So, whatever group, there are all these theories as to who was involved, and we haven't got time to discuss it here. But it had to be some people that were not only willing to kill Kennedy, but either didn't care whether Goldwater was defeated or wanted Goldwater to be defeated. And
the power structure totally wanted to get rid of Goldwater because he was a real guy. He wasn't perfect, but from studying him and talking to folks that knew him, he legitimately didn't. Well, he said the Trilateral Commission was an international banking takeover arm to destroy America and control the left and right and bring in international government run by private central banks. Gee, what do we have now?
Yeah. Well, I remember as a student when Kennedy died, the first thought I had was, Goldwater is going to lose because there was a possibility of him winning. I didn't, at that time, I didn't realize.
Yeah, but they ran TV ads saying the world would blow up with a hydrogen bomb going off if he won. Remember that?
What?
Remember the hydrogen bomb ads, the mushroom cloud ads?
Yeah.
Against Goldwater?
Yeah, that was in Johnson with the little girl and all that. Johnson, and then...
So hold on. Yeah, that was a really good caller we had in the last segment. I'm going to do a spoof on William F. Buckley sometime. That fake Atlantic accent. Of course, he was the son of a robber baron, so, I mean, it's not fake. He was basically a Britishist or a Anglophile, basically loyal to the crown type person who wanted to bring in the British Empire. That's what the Council on Foreign Relations in 1922 was set up for. Once you know who these people are, it's just disgusting. But he would sit back and go, oh, what about this? Oh, and everyone would go, my gosh, he talks with an Atlantic fake British accent. Is incredible. But he would also do something that real elitists like when they can't quite talk. They go, blah, 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 blah. You actually do that around elitists, they start falling down on the ground and rolling around in little orgasmic events. I mean, it's just bizarre. So I intend to watch some more of the CIA asset, William F. Buckley, sometime. Some of the old films of him, and then do a whole piece where I'm interviewing him. That way I can have him on the TV screen, or I can be in the chair, and then I'm interviewing William F. Buckley, or he's interviewing me, and I'm like, but you're a fake. You're a CIA operative. That's preposterous. Well, actually, I have worked with them, but it's a patriotic organization. But anyways, I have to get the character together in my mind. And again, ladies and gentlemen, being in the CIA is not like, you know, Skyfall, James Bond. Same thing with British intelligence. Most of it is just spying on people, collecting dirt on them to blackmail them. Most of the people that are brought into it are pedophiles or have other really degenerate things that they're involved in. This has come out so they can be blackmailed. You can have low-level CIA people that are building airfields or, you know, shipping armaments in, or who are pilots, or special forces that are brought in for CIA to kill people who think they're doing a good job, who are compartmentalized. But the mid-level and higher-ups, it's alien. It's not America. It's a 1947 National Security Act where the foreign shadow government could come in and operate in secret while turning the economy inward, while taking the power from Congress, transferring it to the bureaucracy and the executive. As Ron Paul said in a speech, we've had a CIA coup over America. And it's not fun coming out and criticizing those guys, but they know that I've put my message out. If they kill me, it makes me a martyr. Sometimes they don't care. And if that's what happens, that's my choice. I mean, I don't want to die, but I've chosen to fight these people. They're alien. They've taken over the country. They're operating domestically illegally. They put all these dictators in to wreck their countries. Then they knock the dictators down. Then they put new dictators in and knock them down to keep all these countries down so they can never develop. That's the official State Department policy in Memorandum 200, 1973. And it's in many others, is to hurt other countries, to bring countries. And that's what they're doing here now, shutting off our power, doing all this. The globalists don't want to compete. They want to control, and they have a hatred of humanity. And the CIA, it's a favorite meme of people that think saying Alex Jones is CIA. It's a favorite meme of people to just say that like, oh, well, he's discredited. And that's what Cass Sunstein said they would do. He said, White House regulations are, he said, we'll go out, we'll infiltrate the alternative media, and we'll cause infighting saying people are government agents that aren't. Obviously, look at the fruits of this broadcast. We are exposing the foreign banker takeover. We are one of the few places having breakthroughs against their different programs, exposing they run Al-Qaeda, exposing they're opening the borders, exposing their Fast and Furious, exposing their Agenda 21, exposing their fluoride in the water, exposing Big Pharma and the vaccines, exposing. You think the military-industrial complex wants you knowing that most people with Alzheimer's can stop it or reverse it and even gain ground back in major studies for 30 years with coconut oil, non-hydrogenated, non-cooked, non-manipulated raw? I mean, you think they like that? You know how much money that'll take out of their pockets, what they can suck out of an Alzheimer's patient? That's the side issue. They make the money out of killing you. Everything they do is they make the money out of killing you. Like they get a government contract to put microphones and cameras in all of the cameras and TVs and now light post, and then they put ads out according to what data they get on you, on your profile, and they fund the main project with a free market solution. But it's free markets that are controlled by them where they pick the winners and losers. So I understand why the globalists want to assassinate my character and my name. That's because they better do that. In fact, at a sick level, I am pleased by that because that means they've chosen to kill my character instead of kill me physically. But whatever happens, happens. I'm committed. They know that. They've you know, done the actuaries. They've done the psychological breakdowns, the profiles. And they know I'm real as it gets, warts and all. And they fear an idea. They fear an idea that you could be a leader. They fear the idea that you could get as smart about politics as you are about baseball and the factoids. They fear, and we're going to go to Dan Bidondi here in a moment, they fear that you can discover there is good in the world. You see, things are really corrupt, but that's how they actually use that to get us to become demoralized. So and I get demoralized sometimes, to where we believe there's no hope. That's why we've started, when we find examples of good police officers upholding their oath and doing the right thing, showcasing what they're doing. And the police have been really responding to it and trying to do more good. You see, it's little things like that. So I know that I in a way, no one's perfect. I'm also a dark force. We all have a good side and a bad side. And I inadvertently, because I'm not controlled by anybody but myself, and I'm not in control of myself, part of what I do is a dark force. 30% of what I do is probably ends up being bad one way or another. In fact, I could be a demoralizing force for people when I get really negative. All I can say is, man, this is evil, what's going on. And we better stand up and say no to it. But the globalists don't want you to believe there's anything real in this world. There are real things in this world. There are good people and there are bad people. They want you to just think everything's, one flavor and it's all pragmatic and just don't be involved, go have a good time. So they can run the world while they consolidate control. I mean, this world government is the nastiest thing I've ever seen in my life. It is the most organized, evil, scientifically prepared exterminist program that you could imagine. And I don't want people to take for granted this radio show and Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. You should be emailing everyone you know these articles and these reports and these videos that we have busted our butts to bring you, because these are weapons of truth against the enemy. And the system has done everything it can. I am amazed that we're the best thing there is fighting the globalist when we're ragtag and have our own problems. But it's because we are ragtag that we're so effective. That's why I am so thankful to the media outlets that will tell the truth and that are really starting to realize what's going on, that are out there. And those outlets know who they are. Because what's happening is history right now. If humanity doesn't beat this eugenics world government takeover, we're not going to make it, folks. They tell the professors that they're only going to kill 80 or 90% of us and that they're going to survive and they're going to live and they're going to be taken to the government reservations. That's what stuff like World War Z is kind of imprinting and putting the narrative out. When you see World War Z, folks, I've now read the book. I've got a review coming out next week. I just read the synopsis before. You are seeing everything they're planning to do in detail. In detail. This is their Mein Kampf. Their magnum opus. This is their blueprint. This is their Bible. This is their playbook. This is their attack profile battle plan. Just take zombies out and add general population under government bioweapon release control program, and that's what they're planning. And I didn't just say this now because the movie and I read the book. Watch the film Endgame, Blueprint for Global Enslavement, and then go read World War Z. Oh, yeah, Brad Pitt, I hope you make a lot of money because your soul's going straight to hell. There's no doubt of that unless you repent. And they tell these elitists, see, when you see Brad Pitt jumping on the helicopter and surviving with his family because he joins the UN world government, and they hunt down the American gun owners who won't turn their guns in, they're the #1 enemy. If the film is like the book and they say it's basically identical. If Brad Pitt is smart enough to know what he's part of, and I think he is, then he is a really evil person along with his UN angel of death witch that shows up everywhere where they're going to kill everybody, Angelina Jolie. We're going to go to Dan Bidondi right now. I mean, that's probably why I'm so depressed, too, reading that book. Man, it's so bad. Whew. So bad. So horrible. It's all going to happen. It's all going to happen, folks. It's all going to happen if we let them. If you people working for the government at every level don't grow some humanity in your heart, you have no future. And I know they told Brad Pitt. That's why he got so obsessed over the film and bought it. That he and his wife and kids would survive what's coming if they join the New World Order. Because I happen to know Brad Pitt knows about the New World Order. And I was told by, I said 2, but really 3 different Hollywood sources that know him, that 10 years ago he was into the New World Order and the Patriot, and watching my films and Aaron Russo's and stuff like that. And then he went and married that UN front lady. And now that's what they tell you. They've told me this, executives and people. Well, things are going to get real bad. And you need to join with us. You need to just, believe me, we know best. It's going to get real bad. The public will tear you apart. Listen, you know what? We're in control because we're smart, and believe us, you're smart too. You want to be with us. Well, I chose to be with humanity. And reading the book, this is a metaphor for they're all getting on the UN helicopters and getting out, but they're going to kill more than 90%, folks. They only tell their minions they're only going to kill 90%. When you get into their deeper documents, they plan to kill 99.9% of people on the face of the earth and have this new Eden thing. It's all Moonraker. They tell you over and over again what they're going to do. All right, I'm going to shut up and go to Dan Bidondi. Dan, thank you for coming on. Dan has gone back to report for us there in Rhode Island to be with his son. And he's still going to do some reporting for us from the ground. Does a great job as a new man on the street. And I wanted to briefly today, Dan, let you also do your own radio show stuff, have you plug that, have you plug your different websites and things and what you're doing because you're working for us part-time. But before we do that, just to briefly tell us, they're giving people tickets, I was reading, in New Jersey and New York when their windows are knocked out or even if their house is dumped over, the locals, and we can put that article up on screen, they're giving them, New York City hit Sandy victims with failure to maintain property citation, even though it's power lines and trees fall on their house that the government, by law, has to cut off. The greedy code enforcers are so vampiric, they're doing this. Give us your take on that and being there in the aftermath of this. 4 weeks later, still some power off. What's your take, Dan Bidondi?
Well, I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, like, we all know it was a natural disaster, a superstorm, but yet they're still handing out fines for people when the whole East Coast is calling for $60.4 billion to help with the, the disaster relief fund, and you got the White House calling for Congress for that aid. But you got an article from the Washington Post, I believe, and they're saying that $60.4 billion hurricane aid is not enough. I mean, there's more than $60.4 billion of damage, but yet they're handing out fines when people can't afford to salvage their own town, and then not to mention the FEMA places they got set up that I mean, it's crazy.
Now, you've gotten back there in Rhode Island to help your family out. Rhode Island wasn't hit anywhere near as bad as New Jersey or New York, but talking to folks, how bad is it on the ground still in the economy?
Oh, it's terrible. I mean, the unemployment rate is like one of the worst in the countries here. I mean, you got the down in South Rhode Island where all the beaches are basically, and all the businesses down there, the seafood places where they're famous for and everything, they're all like wreckage. I mean, like the beaches are all corroded. I mean, it's just like the Southern Rhode Island's like basically in the turmoil.
And I read in New Jersey they've got code enforcers there too, giving them fines for houses that are dumped over. How are you supposed to fix that in 4 weeks?
Exactly. I mean, like it's a natural disaster, but yeah, we're gonna, you got to come up with money, to pay because the insurance company ain't gonna pay for everything. So you got to come up with money to, give your family a living. But yeah, here's a fine because your house is upside down. Here's a fine because your window is busted out. Here's a fine because your car ain't moving out of your driveway. You know what I mean? This is total tyranny. I mean, this is a federal takeover because they want the people to say, we need to rely on big government to help us. And, in the meantime, I'm going to hand out fines. So this way you go out and, when you got the food stamp rates now, I think it's 50.
And by the way, that's CBS News New York. We've got it AP out of New Jersey. I mean, imagine a tree falls on your house with power lines. Only the city can come cut it off. But the code enforcers come and smile and give people huge fines. I mean, I couldn't take that, Dan. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I'm getting to the point where I just can't take any more of these scum. I mean, a lot of these government people love hurting people. They love hurting people. And my grandfather was a county tax assessor, and people love our family to this day because he would basically just forget the taxes. If people didn't have the property taxes, they just went away. Whatever happened to that? I mean, whatever happened to bureaucrats that are servants? It just makes me want to throw up. I mean, how are these people so low to go around giving people tickets when their houses are collapsed, saying your house isn't in order? And the courts, I mean, it's mafia, Dan.
Oh, it is. It's total mafia. And again, what they're trying to do is subdue people to the police state that you already know this. And they want people to rely off government. But you know what? You need to keep your head down, keep your mouth shut. And if we're going to hand you with a fine, you got to take it. And we're calling, we want everybody to rely off us. We give you the free phones and so on. And the report, I guess, is 106 people died on the East Coast from the hurricane. Over 1.3 million homes and businesses down without power, and they picked up the 8.5 million people that suffered without power on the East Coast. And that's just estimates. I mean, then I get the state-by-state statistics, yeah. And, it's just like $64 billion is just an estimate. We know it's not enough. But meanwhile, you got our Lord and Savior King Barry Soetoro going on a $4 million vacation he does every year. He spent, I think, a total of over $16 million in the last 4 years to go to Hawaii for every year. And not to mention when they closed down Times Square, they closed down a couple of years ago, just to bring his daughters to go get a couple hamburgers in Times Square in New York City. I mean, like, what is going on? And you got a petition from Maryland, a guy from Maryland's saying that, you know, Obama, you should cancel your vacation and use that money toward the hurricane relief fund. And which we know that's not going to happen. Because
you know, it's so disgusting. Instead of bringing us together, Jamie Foxx and others are trying to create racial division. But I know a lot of people came together during this hurricane as well and helped each other out, so that's good. Dan, real quick, plug your radio show that you do separate from Infowars, your own show, and plug some of your websites.
Okay, it's called the Dan Bidondi Show, also Truth Radio. It's on 990WBOB.com. That's 990WBOB.com. And it's tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central. We'll be live. It's a video and audio show also. And it's truthradioshow.com is my website. And it's great to hear from you, Alex, and we'll be in touch soon.
You bet. And I want to get reports from you, the man on the street, the jaywalking idea you had. Let's do it. Dan, let's get those reports up there. Be our East Coast reporter, Dan Bidondi. Mike Adams, another one of our great contributors. He is coming up right after this break with some breaking torture news. All right, got a few calls coming up in the little overdrive segment here that has become pretty much customary. If you go to prisonplanet.tv, you can see the new redesigned site. Not just redesigning the look, redesign the way it works. And the site just gets better and better. You can get 10 memberships for the price of one right now, $5.95 a month. That's 59 cents a month per person. Your Christmas shopping, your holiday shopping is over. Just create the username passcode, give it to them in their e-card. One username and passcode can be used by 10 people simultaneously to get the nightly news, the video, the daily radio show, the commercial-free podcast, all 25 of my films, dozens of other films, ebooks, the list goes on and on. 17 years of material, almost 10 years up and running, prisonplanet.tv. All right, briefly, this story's up at naturalnews.com and also Infowars.com. And by the way, I'm excited to announce, he offered this months ago, and I've been too busy to set it up. Mike Adams is going to be doing a once-a-week special report for Infowars Nightly News that will also air on the show, about a 10-minute report once a week, and so is Max Kaiser. And they've both offered, and I've had some other interesting offers by other media people, so we're going to start doing that more and more, bringing more contributors in here. And I also want to invite Mike right now, before Christmas comes up, you know, sometime next week if he wants to come in and fill in for a day. I know he's working super hard. I'll be quite honest. I'm like a boxer on the ropes. It's not that I feel tired. I've been working like 18 hours a day again lately, and it's making me really get nasty. And I don't know what it is. I just get in this hyper-competitive mode, and I just feel like I could take on 20 people, and I just can't stand it. I mean, it's terrible. And I'm sure you've been through this, some of you out there. I need to just get away. But anyway, side issue. When I read stuff like this, it just gets worse and worse. Electroshock torture handcuffs, now patented, delivers shock torture, gas injections, and chemical restraints. Those are quotes to prisoners via remote control, naturalnews.com, also Infowars.com. And, Mike, we've only got about 3 minutes here. Thanks for popping in for a quick report. Give us your take on this and tell us about the company, because it sounds like Homeland Security looking at those taser bracelets they want for flyers.
Yeah, hi, Alex. Thanks for having me on. I'll break it down for you very, very quickly. This comes out of a sex toy company, believe it or not. The same inventors of this set of handcuffs that remotely electroshock prisoners and can inject them with medication, yeah, right, government medication. It can also inject them with paralytic chemicals. And this is written right into the patent, which people can read on Infowars.com. The story is up there. They can go to the patent and read this. It delivers an electroshock to the detainees, a facial restraint, a helmet, a neck collar. I mean, this is super dystopian sci-fi stuff. And again, it came out of a sex toy company that makes S&M remote electroshock handcuffs, with all the kinky implications of that. And in the story that's posted on Infowars.com, I linked it over to DHS and all the weird sexual deviancy in that department and in the TSA, the molestation of travelers, the raping of women. It's all the same thing, Alex. Torture devices weird sexual deviancy, police state technology. It's
well, you know,
here.
it's funny you say that because torture has always been about sexual perversion. And they use convicted sex perverts or fired federal jail guards to go run the torture camps and black sites. And that's what this is really about. It's a coming out of the pedophile pervert elite. I'm not talking about this company particularly. I'm not saying they're into that. But I'm saying that's what Abu Ghraib, torture, all this stuff is about the act of domination. And this is about their cult, their tyranny cult taking over. And that's why so much of the torture has been sexual in nature. I mean, they're doing it because it's not the destination, it's the journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I hear the music, so I'll let you wrap up.
No, keep going. Keep going. Finish up.
Well, also they can inject a dye, an irritant, a medication, a sedative, a transdermal medication. All of these things can be remotely injected into the prisoners, and you know that the prison guards are going to use this as a form of entertainment because they're so cruel these days. So
you know what? Stay there. I want to hear more about this. Yeah, they have the sonic nauseator machine they put in the jails to make people sick for fun. You know, I want to go to these final callers. Carl and Mike says, Professor booted for political view. Yeah, if you're not a communist, they're kicking you out. Eric, upset with everything. Neil and others, I want to get to them. But this Mike Adams thing is so important. We'll see what happens. I feel like I could talk for 10 hours on air, but at the same time, I don't want to subject people to my being bummed out. Mike Adams, I want to get back into the torture bracelets and the taser bracelets and all the rest of it. And, you know, this is so they don't even have to manhandle you. They just sit there and deliver the electroshocks. They already have ruled police can taser you to make you answer questions, even though there's a Fifth Amendment. It's torture. They call it paying compliance. How do you deal sometimes? Because it doesn't happen to me a lot, but sometimes I get overloaded with the news and how real it is, and then the frustration of other people not understanding it. And I get... It's not really depressed. It's a nastiness. It's a just, I don't know how to describe it. Do you ever have that happen?
Yeah, absolutely. It can be overload. I tell you, the cure that I've discovered is to get off the computer, go out in nature. And I know you do the same thing there. You go out and swim and you go out and jog. That's what keeps me sane. If I can't go hiking, if I can't go, you know, hang out with some of the interesting animals we have out on our ranch, then I would go crazy just covering the insanity that is real. We have to have these strategies to deal with it because, well, and then there's also the issue of the frustration, like you said, of others not understanding how real this is, how imminent this tyranny has become, how close we are to going over not just
Well, it's going on all the time, too. It's just we've been normalized to already a crazy level of tyranny. It's just that now it's accelerating, and it's like, man, I want off this train now.
Yeah, I hear you, but I do think that adaptogenic nutrition is what keeps us going. If we were eating junk food diets and not having the nutritional supplementation that you promote, that I promote, and others, we would already have given in.
But I'm not but I'm not as healthy as you. I'm trying to get healthy. Every time I eat crud, I feel it the next day, and that may have been what happened. I can't eat the meats on pizzas anymore. I try to be healthy, but then I fall back. You know, that's why I've lost 40 pounds, though. I was really fat. I still am a little bit, but I've lost most of it. But I ate a mainline pizza last night, and I think there was probably nitrates or MSG or something in there, and that's probably part of it. Because actually, nitrites. Now that you say it, I think it's MSG, man. It makes me like I get a hangover from it.
MSG is killer, but I hear you. I've been working so hard too. Look, I put on about 15 pounds in the last year, and I've got to recommit to taking that off and getting back to the level of fitness I was at. It's a compromise. I feel guilty going jogging because I feel like I could write another article that could wake up a few more people.
I do too. That's the thing. If I try to take off just 3 days, it's very restorative, but I'm like guilty the whole time about what's going on.
I feel the same thing. But yeah, I'll be happy to fill in for you, you know, or whatever if you need a break. And I'm trying to balance my own time too. But
I know.
we're in a war, man.
You've launched 100 different things. It's amazing watching you. It's such a blessing having you here close to us, Mike. And folks, I'm not kissing his butt here. It's just so good to know there's good people out there. Oh, it's so good. Because
Texas.
yeah, no, it is. It's good. You fit in well here. No, but I mean, it's good to know there's other people that really know what's going on. I mean. Doesn't it feel good to you, like when you look at other people that are fighting tyranny, they're like superheroes to you? Mike, you're like a superhero to me.
Well, that's the way I feel walking through your office looking at your staff. You know, looking at Aaron and Rob Dew and Bidondi and his report that he just did. It's like an office building full of superheroes in the fight for liberty. I feel humbled when I walk in your office, frankly, just because of what you guys are doing. I'm just happy to be contributing to it.
Yeah, well, I try to do the best job I can. But look, we can only do the best job we can. Yeah, I'll talk to you when we go to break. You're welcome to come in here. You want 1 day or 2 days next week? Of course, I feel great by then. I feel great right now. I feel like I could literally stomp 20 people on the ground is a problem.
Well, it's hard for me to do back-to-back days, but I can do 1 day at a time with you.
Yeah, come in 1 day next week. Well, what day you want? We'll announce it right now.
Oh, whatever works for you, man. I can be flexible.
Do what, brother? What's Thursday? Okay, yeah. No, let's do Tuesday, Mike.
All right, Tuesday it is.
All right, line it up, brother. Line it up. All right, folks. No, I'm just like, All right, Mike Adams, God bless you. Naturalnews.com. It's got the loving taser torture bracelet garbage there for you. Stay with us. We'll be back.